you are in the back row and cannot hear, raise your hand and she'll move the mic closer to herself.
Thank you very much. So I'm just going to be very, very quick in introducing me. This is a sewing machine that was in my grandfather's basement. And this is my first computer that I got when I was 12 years old, which was a Commodore 64. So basically, I'm realizing that's what I do now. I put fashion, sewing machines, and computers together. That's called, for me, fashion tech. So I founded Moondal in 98, a long time ago, and we consider ourselves to be the nexus between silicon and style. Again, the word game, silicon being computers, style being fashion. I know I don't look like a geek, but I am. So these just a few of our clients, just so that you understand who we are. Intel, Motorola, VFC, North Face, we did a project with them. Johnson Controls for cars, wearables in cars, Siemens, the first audio phones at that time was in 2003, for example. I work with institutes all over the world. We work with universities, again, also all over the world. So what I consider very important is the body is a part of a network system. Everything that we actually have in our body, on our body, can be weared. So basically, think about the Internet of Things in anything, also in our body. And what I use as the skin is, I use it as a metaphor to conceive computational fashion. What that means is, imagine your skin. Your skin actually is a sensing organ, and it also actuates. So, very simply, you are in the sun, you tan. Your skin understands what's going on, it gets the UV rays, and it starts to tan, it starts to actuate. The same thing when you sweat. You actually get heated up, your body is reacting. Again, you sense, you react. Now I want to translate that into an actual garment, onto our textile. So what we are doing is, so we have been doing consulting for about 20 or so years in this space. I know this is a long time, and a lot of people think it's a new space, but it's actually really old. Like 3D printing is also really old, actually. So what we're doing right now, we got to build soft hardware for clothing. That's a new startup I'm starting up, and so I'm not talking about this. If you guys are interested, let me know. So we got to build flexible, stretchable, wireless connected components. That's basically an ecosystem. So we got to combine soft hardware with big data. Because what you need to do is you need to also compute all the data, visualize it, and then actuate something with it. This is basically a part of my team. As you can see, we got a lot of different expertise, and that's what also is very, very important in fashion tech. It's not only a fashion designer, it's not only a digital technologist, it's also a chemist. You also need to have somebody who understands about interaction design. You need somebody who understands about physical computing. You need to have somebody who understands about biology. So it's a huge aspect. So what I also do is I do a lot of fun stuff, and that is curation, for example. This is an exhibition that I curated called Sonic Fabric. Sound on the body. Where does it actually reside? How can we actually make it? There was one project, for example, where we had a sound scarf with 5 different closures. Every closure made a different sound. So you are able to create your own soundscape. Again, very playful. This is sort of a thing that you might want to wear when you're out and about. But then, of course, there are other aspects. Where can we use sound in garments for rehabilitation, for example, or people that have a hearing problem, or so forth. So again, sound on the body, very important. Just also, maybe I want to just give you a little bit of a story. New York, very hot. So basically, this morning I walked over. It was a wonderful breeze. I took the ferry from Brooklyn over, and then I started walking, and I became, hotter and hotter and hotter, even though it's not muddy yet. But imagine now, you have a 2-day event, and I wear the same dress. I love this dress, and I travel a lot, so I really just want to have one bag and that's it. And also, I felt this morning that I think I'm dehydrated. I'm not really sure. So imagine you have a piece of garment, you have this dress on that actually understands my temperature level, understands how hot I become or not, heats me at the same time. At the same time, I can actually change the pattern. I have other dresses at home with different patterns, and tomorrow I can wear the same dress with a different pattern. You, of course, think it's the same dress. A different dress. And at the same time, I have a problem of being dehydrated. So what I have is, I have maybe a pH sensor in my underwear. It actually detects, hey, you really got to drink more water. You got a little bit too much sun for the weekend, and it's actually really hot out there. So your body cream might not work as well on you. You just need to drink more water. Again, a lot of different things that we can do and have a lot of different aspects in fashion tech. So it's not just the actual beauty itself, not the style itself, it's also the actual functionalities. So this is another one where we're thinking about, or when we talk about the scientific skin, and I just chose this image because on the right-hand side you have an image. This is dyed leather. This is actually pig leather, see-through. And on the right-hand side you actually have a tapestry. When you touch it, it actually actuates and makes sounds. So you have the juxtaposition between something very old that you can make very new looking, and then something very, very new that has a typical tapestry design from the Wiener Werkstätte in Vienna. What I also do is I co-chair a project called Computational Fashion at IBM here in New York. This is a piece that one of our current fellows has been working on with Joris van Herpen on on 3D printed. And what is really important to us here is when we started this project, it was funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. I said, I want to bring the fashion industry in New York and Silicon Alley together. So think about that as well when you think about computational fashion. Now also I teach at Parsons, so this is a project from one of my students. It's basically how do you actually taste different types of lights. So he has different types, he has a light sensor in his mouth, and he can taste different lights. Art project. So, going back now, one of the main important issues in fashion tech, one is acceleration. Why is it so interesting now? So if we think about wireless, in 2000, the Bluetooth standard developed. There was no Bluetooth standard before. Thus, there were no products that used the Bluetooth standard. Now, there is no wireless, short-range wireless product around that doesn't use Bluetooth. And now we got Bluetooth 4, which is like a little bit less power, uses less power than before. However, it's still not ideal. So, long story short, we need to have accelerations of different technologies in order to actually make the space work. Why do you think we have so many fuel bands and all these like accelerometer gadgets around? Well, suddenly in 2006 or so, we got the accelerometer as a sensor for the do-it-yourself to make a community. A lot of people have been playing around with it, and suddenly it actually was included in the iPhone 4 at the time. So suddenly you have an accelerometer, you have a gyro, you have all these different things that are able for you to work with your iPhone. That's what you need the accelerometer and the gyro for. And then suddenly it became smaller, 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 cheaper, 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 and then wow, now we have it in all these gadgets. So this is accelerating a certain technology. So Moore's law basically, but also using other measures. This, for example, is just a study we're doing, so we're doing a lot of studies as well. Look at the wearable body monitoring products, and you see the spike here in 2011. That's basically when a lot of products came onto the market. Now, of course, 2012, 2013, 2014 is even more. We did this study, I think, in 2012, beginning of 2012. Big data. So big data is another very, very big and important issue. A lot of people think that, well, we have the Internet of Things. We need to actually compute all that data. How can we compute it? There's a lot of data sets that are out there that are very, that data sets out there that right now we can't really compute. It's too much data, and the computers are not fast enough for the data that we really have and that we really gather. That's the problem. The computers are getting faster and faster, yes, but it's not fast enough. So quantum computing is going to be a very interesting leap again. It's going to be the next leap into like really understanding data and really making sense of data and then actuating with it at the same time. Privacy, different types of algorithm, standards. We do not have standards that are appropriate for wearable technologies, for example. I'm just going to go very quickly here. So this is just a few slides. So the superhuman is something that we all thrive for. Bioelectronics, another term, very important for wearables. Now think about you wear all these electronics on the body. Where we have all these electronics, but we also got to get rid of them. We also have to biodegrade them. We also have to find different ways of actually create electronics that maybe even grow themselves. But there's a lot of things also that are important in terms of energy harvesting. We cannot use materials and we cannot use electronics that use a lot of energy because we only are limited to our body as our energy source, or we want to be only using the body as an energy source. We have electricity. Everybody has electricity. There's electricity around us all the time. We can actually generate. So the lowest power we can actually work, the better it is. And I've also put long term there. This is like, you know, if you invest in something, it's almost like we're talking about before life sciences. So think about fashion tech also in terms, when we talk about this in terms of life sciences. So it's not like a product cycle that's like 18 months. That's when you put, you know, something like typical actuation, like an LED or so. That's an easy, you know, product right now, but that's very much in costume design. And then science, as I said before, very important. Chemistry, physics, nanotechnology. We're dealing with really understanding the actual fiber itself. So this is a project, a research project I lead in Helsinki called computational cellulose. And here we're creating an actual sensing and actuating textile that you can use your phone or use an application to just really press a button and change the actual pattern or color of the textile. So the premise of the project is the following. Imagine you create a pulp. When you do put nanoparticles in there that are conductive, usually metal-based, and then you basically spin the actual yarn, and with that yarn, then you work the actual textile. And then so you have suddenly a conductive textile that you can just actuate. You can just really press a button and actuate and change. I mean, of course, it's a little bit more complicated, but. I'm sorry. So, and then, of course, design, very important, and that is a huge aspect that, so now we have those guys that, fantastic bioengineers, fantastic. Then we have those chemists. They're like really doing, for example, one of my guys, I said, listen, I'm a computer scientist. I understand all about computer science. But I want you to actually address a molecule the way I address a pixel. I change the color of a pixel. I move a pixel. I make different things with a pixel. Can you do the same with a molecule? So that's basically really, you have to start really talking with each other in different types of languages as well. And now he suddenly understands about textiles because we have a vocabulary, we have a glossary. I'm not kidding. We really put the glossary together. What is the chemist saying? The chemist is saying T24 quad polymer, blah, 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 blah. The textile designer says, well, you need a bobbin in there, and then you need to have a cross stitch. Huh? So we definitely need to have these vocabularies set together. So design, again, very, very important. Patterns, to me, the pattern maker is going to be very, very important because those are the ones that need to translate the actual vision of the fashion designer and the one of the technologist. So I write also books. One is called Functional Aesthetics. So I'm all about functional aesthetics. So it got to look good, but you got to do something really good. This is just very considerations and so forth. And then just retail, because I have only 30 seconds left. Retail, very important. How are we going to be selling these type of products? But then also how we're going to produce them. We produce them on the fly. We're talking about customization. We're talking about different data sets. We're talking about technologies. We're talking also about disposable income. So imagine Apple Genius Bar meets London Dover Street Markets. You maybe know we also have a London Dover Street Market now here in New York. A gallery-like type store, but then you need to get your pants fixed. And the way you need to get your pants fixed is basically you need to go to an Apple Genius Bar, or you need to go to the Genius Bar in the store, you know, get your pants rebooted, at the same time you go a little bit shopping and sip your coffee. So you have a digital cobbler, basically. And then the market. The market for this is going to be huge. Think about fashion. Think about fashion market is a 2 billion, I think 2 billion, 2 trillion. It's like it's a big, pretty big market worldwide. And wearable technology market is actually spiking. And then the smart textile market is coming as well. So we have all these different segments. And then of course we got, basically think about technology in anything you wear. So what you wear as a person, but then also what does workwear, sports, healthcare. Everybody who wears something will need to have functionality added to it. And then this is my last slide. So this is also we're looking at what do people do. So as you can see, 2003 was one of the first sports products out there by Burton, was a media control jacket. So again, the space is not that old, that young.
Thank you. You know, just hang on to that mic for questions. And Bob, I'll hand it over to you. And I know you ran short of time, but we're going to have time at the end for questions, so this is great. And do you have your presentation there?
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Doing it for me.
So for those of you who came in a bit late, this is Bob Bland, who will take the second part of this presentation.
Yeah.
This-
Okay. Oh,
Are
I'm
you
so
good?
excited. This is
Okay,
awesome.
good.
Okay. Hi. So my name's Bob Bland, and I'm the CEO and founder. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Of Manufacture New York. And our mission is to reawaken and rebuild America's fashion industry. So we're starting small. And no, I'm just kidding. But, sorry, I'm going to try to make you guys laugh. And basically the premise of Manufacture New York is that I brought together this team in 2012. We're mostly women-led. My co-founder, Amanda Parks, and then also to speak to Dr. Seymour's point about pattern makers being essential, our head pattern maker is actually really pivotal to my business. So I consider her to be really a partner, and she has an equity stake because that's how important pattern making is. And then also we have Rob Sanchez, my Chief Strategy Officer, and Patrick Duffy, my VP of Sustainability, because embedding sustainability in fashion businesses is now not just a luxury, it is an operational necessity, and it does throw off cash as a result of embedding operational sustainability from the beginning of the business. So this is kind of all of us. We have collectively like 50 years of experience in fashion, and you know, I feel really good about this team. Yeah, so the problem is, when I started Manufacture New York in 2012, I just was thinking that there needed to be a solution for all the infrastructural problems in fashion. I had already been working in the industry for 10 years at that point for Ralph Lauren, Banana Republic, big companies, and then also doing my own line in New York City. And apparel and textile manufacturing over the last 20 to 30 years, because of free trade, has become a very extended global supply chain that doesn't actually work. And outsourcing is increasingly becoming outmoded now. A lot of this we've noticed since the recession, but it was also seeing the entire fast fashion cycle happen and seeing the diminishing returns that are coming from that. Now, I will say one thing about fast fashion. H&M, Zara, companies like that, one good thing that came out of that is the supply chain technology for actually tracking their supply chains is unparalleled, and they've poured millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars over it over the last 15 years. So though their actual business models are unsustainable, the technology that came out of it is very important for the future of fashion. Designers over the last 30 years haven't been educated in any of this because it was just not part of their jobs. And most designers were going into corporate fashion. So that has also changed as a result of the recession. We've seen that the schools are still graduating a lot of kids that there are just not jobs for. And so they're going, much like the recession in the 80s, they're going into the entrepreneurial realm. And out of that, in the 80s in the Garment Center, we had like Marc Jacobs, Donna Karan, Michael Kors. We had a lot of incredible brands come out of that. And I believe that this is a very ripe opportunity right now to actually invest in traditional fashion as fashion tech. And it's something that, like, when they asked me to talk about this, I was like, oh wow, well Dr. Seymour is an expert. I didn't, you know, and certainly my co-founder Amanda Parks is, but what do I know about this? And what I do know is that an integral part of fashion tech is the logistics. And that is the future of fashion, because instead of being niche, like for me, like, I don't know if I'm gonna want a tracker on my body. You know, I don't know if I'm gonna wanna have my clothes change colors when I accidentally hit a button when I sit down. So, you know, like, now some people will, and they will make millions and millions of dollars, and they need funding for that technology as well. You know, I mean, some of it's going to come through grants, MIT Media Lab, stuff like that, but some of it's not. So those companies will need capital, and they will look like really sexy investments. So you'll probably go for them. But on the non-sexy side, with logistics, with actual supply chain management, these are products, and there are startups coming out with these products. A lot of them are working with Manufacture New York, or you know, some of these products we're actually developing ourselves. These are products that will work for the entire fashion industry, the traditional fashion industry, and that, you know, I look forward to selling the supply chain solution that we create to companies like Ralph Lauren, like H&M, companies, you know, especially companies that currently are not embedding sustainability into their operations and are not seeing the ways that that can throw off cash. Like I was at the, I was speaking at Copenhagen Business School like a couple months ago, and they had this great fashion summit, and it was amazing because Kering, the luxury company, you know, it's like Bottega Veneta and like, you know, all those big brands. So they have this thing they call an EPML, an environmental profit and loss software, that is only available, it's proprietary only to their companies. And that's something where, what a shame, you know? Because that could be a product that if it was available to more companies would be an incredibly investable product. And those are the sort of things that we're working on right now. I totally went off slide. Anyway, well yeah, so we need to rethink the way the fashion industry works. It's a big industry. We all wear clothes, right? So, you know, this is something where, and I think I have a slide about that. Yeah, so our solution, what we're doing first is we're creating an ecosystem, like a complete ecosystem for fashion